We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talk Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
Well, the players laid down the gauntlet and they said, no, we want to play ball. And so the owner's like, okay, all right, let's play ball. And so that's what they're going to be doing. And we've seen some big trades. A big trade I do want to kind of discuss at the end of this podcast. We've seen some bullpen signings across baseball. And is that going to affect any possibility that the Astros may get any scraps of any more relievers out there? So we'll talk about this and a lot more on this Locked On Astros podcast. You can get Locked On Astros on podcasting app Himalaya, as well as Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And when you get in car, tell your smart device play podcast Locked On Astros. Brett, what can they have when they're listening to our podcast?
They can have a Built Bar. Is that right?
No. How about they have something to drink instead of having something to eat? Like maybe a belching beaver?
Oh, my bad. I'm sitting here thinking of food. You're thinking of the drink. Okay, well, here's the deal. Belching Beaver launched in 2012, and their desire was to make beer and have a damn good time doing it and to spread that through all the land. Well, they did that successfully in California, and in 2019, they launched they garnered a contract with Ambient Distribution. They just made it to Texas this year. And when they brought their beer to the Austin area, I believe they sold out within 24 to 48 hours. I've got a statement from the CEO, Tom Vogel of Belching Beaver, and this is what he says. We're very excited to announce our launch into the great state of Texas. This is something that we wanted to do for a very long time, but we couldn't find the right distributing partner. So we were thrilled to partner with Ambient. Texans certainly know their beer, and it will be on us to keep them immersed in the best styles that we can make. I hope to be able to drink a few of our pints right along with the local craft on 6th Street, especially with our buddies at Pint House Brewing. So their website is belchingbeaver.com, and I want you to check out their amazing varieties. Go have a damn good time. Tell them H-Town Wheelhouse, Eric the Man Huysman, and Locked On Astros sent you.
Alrighty. So last time we had a podcast, we talked about the MLB owners. They came out and said, okay, guys, now we don't want to have the same thing like happened last year. So we want to go ahead and delay the season. And we want to go ahead and give you the universal DH, which we know y'all want because that gives more jobs out there. Marcel Zuna, you know we're talking to you. And then and we also want to go and make it a shorter season, maybe 154 games, but we're going to throw in some double headers, and you're going to probably have to play the World Series into November. So it's going to probably be a little cold, but everything's going to be good as long as we get all the vaccinations done and everything's to be good. We could play ball starting at April 28th. The players said what?
They said absolutely not. We want to play ball when it's supposed to start. We want a full season. And I mean, and I don't know if maybe they were thinking, well, can they, short us some change? Will the 154 mean ultimately we won't get as much money? And I believe they were going to expand the playoffs again this year as well to 14 teams, 7 in each league. But the players, again, I mentioned this briefly on the last podcast. They are creatures of habit. Their bodies are attuned to certain routines. And if you get out of that routine and you continue to do that, it's going to throw everything off. If you go into November, you go too far, then it throws off getting ready and being able to get prepped for spring training in 2022. And who knows, in 2022, we may have a shortened season anyways, if they can't agree on a collective bargaining agreement, which comes up. So 2021 may be the last full season we see if it occurs until that agreement gets done. I don't have a lot of confidence that it's going to be a short thing. I think it's going to be a long, drawn out process, and both sides are going to wait for the other to break. Eric, MLB did mention, and you can, tackle this in more detail. They did mention that, we tried to listen to medical experts who told us it would be best to delay it a month and we'll pay you for the 154 games. So they kind of like threw it out as the players were discarding the safety that MLB was wanting to throw their way.
Yeah, and I think that's what the MLB is a little bit most upset about is the fact that the union did not make a counter proposal. They're like, no, why are you waiting till 2 weeks before we're supposed to report? We want to play ball. We don't want to deal with the same crap again. We're going to report, and that's it. So I think what the MLB is doing here is they're saying, look, we tried. We tried. We put a statement out there. We tried to get the players to understand. And from what I understand, I haven't seen much of this, but I understand that the players union skipped a meeting today with the government or something because they don't want to hear what people have to say. We've already heard what the Arizona, the state of Arizona, a lot of the mayors, they want to delay spring training because they don't think things are ready yet. But we see other sports going on. Yes, it's limited capacity, but baseball is an everyday thing. Baseball is a close proximity thing. I know you could say so is football, so is basketball. Yes, but I just think that baseball is an everyday thing. It's a 162 game schedule. It's a marathon. You have what 25 spring training games. This is something that people are really worried about, but I think that the league just doesn't understand why the players don't want to accept this, and I think that the two sides aren't seeing each other. So
Well, here's the thing. I think they're afraid of the ramifications. Okay. I think they're afraid that if they accept too much now, that when it comes to 2022, they're going to go, hey, we gave you this and you accepted it. And we're not going to give you anything else. Like we've made a lot of exceptions to what we wanted, and we've been over backwards for you. And maybe that makes their case for not wanting to. Maybe that's what the players are thinking. Maybe then they have a case to not really offer us much. See, the players want to hold on to those things, the universal DH and stuff like that, until it really, really means something. And that's why they're doing it. I think the delay might have come from the fact that the spring training in Arizona, like you mentioned, will be delayed a month. I wonder how that's going to play out. If that is the case and the Florida spring training goes on, are there alternate places to play other spring training games, or is Arizona the only place they can do it?
That's a good question. And in terms of amount of ballparks that's in Arizona, I think Arizona is the only place. They can always do what they did last year and go to their home ballparks. But then that's just opens a whole nother can of worms. You'll have to do what they did last year. So we'll have to see. But there's been breaking news an hour ago, according to Mark Berman. The Astros, according to the Astros clubhouse staff, they will be loading the equipment truck bound for the ballpark of Palm Beaches in West Palm Beach, Florida, tomorrow at Minute Park. The truck is set to leave Minute Park at approximately noon tomorrow to make the 1,117-mile trip to Astros spring training home, which means the Astros are expecting to start on time. And I hope there's not a lot of traffic on I-10 because sometimes, especially when you get to Mobile, and what's that other? There's a place in Slidell that the traffic gets a little bad out there, but spring training. Hopefully, it starts in time. Would you bet on spring training starting on time, or would you go ahead and just have a Built Bar instead?
Um, well, I would have a Built Bar. You're really throwing me off with how you're throwing these to me. The Built Bar is what I would consume if I was traveling in a bus full of spring training equipment going to Florida. Maybe I can get props on that bet here in a second, but Built Bar is an amazing bar. It's a protein bar that is wrapped in 100% chocolate. It's basically a candy bar, and it's good for you. It's low in calories. It's high in protein. It's low in carbs. Doesn't have a ton of sugar, and so it's perfect if you're the healthy, conscious guy or girl out there and you're wanting to lose or maintain weight. Grab a Built Bar. They have Built Puffs, Built Bars. They've got immune boosters. They've got everything, Eric. Even Built Broth. Like I said, it's turned into a Built Bar empire. If you use a promo code Locked On, you'll get 20% off your first order when you go to builtbar.com. And when you get that first box, you'll get another coupon for 20% off. So go to builtbar.com and check out. They do have some sales right now on some of their flavors, and some of them are limited. So get them while they last at builtbar.com.
Alrighty, and let's say that the truck happens to have some technical issues or mechanical issues on the way. What could they? Who could they call, or what website could they go on?
They could go to rockauto.com. I literally almost said something else. They can go to rockauto.com. It's been around for 20 years. It's an online auto parts store. Basically, instead of you going and wearing a mask, going into a store, if you don't want to do that, go to rockauto.com. And you can't see me when you're listening, but if you're watching this, you type on your computer, rockauto.com, type in your year, your make, your model, whether it's a car or a truck. You can look for anything from brake pads to windshield wipers. It's an easily navigable site. 30, 50, sometimes 100% less than the storefronts. They're not going to upcharge you because you're not a professional mechanic. They're going to charge you the same they charge everybody else. When you go there and you purchase something in the "Where did you hear about us" segment, type the word Locked On to let them know that we sent you. rockauto.com, family owned, family proud, the best auto parts store in the business at rockauto.com.
Alrighty. Thank you, Brett, and thank you to Ben DeBose, because I just saw something on Twitter that I would have missed if I didn't check it out. But according Kevin Goldstein, you remember Kevin Goldstein? He was one of the special assistants to GM, or the scouting presents, whatever he was with Jeff Luhnow. But this was, I think it was either an article or a blog or some type of podcast he was in. So this was the question. It said at the 109 mark, it said it was rumored that there was a Harper to the Astros trade in the works in his walk year. How close to being done was that trade? And do you remember who was involved? And this is what Kevin Goldstein had to say. It would be in bad taste to talk about the players involved, but I went to bed that night believing that Bryce Harper was an Astro.
Yeah, no, I remember that I remember when that happened. And did he not want to talk about it? Maybe because the players are still with the Astros.
Well, you're not. It's kind of bad to kind of talk about that. Yes. So yes, you're not supposed to talk back about. It's kind of like that when the whole trade leaked about the Giancarlo Stanton trade, when he was, I think it was like, I forgot who it was, but there were several names leaked that were supposed to be going to them, to the Marlins for Stanton. And those were pretty big names that are with the Astros now. And so you don't talk about who could have gone. And that's just kind of what you do in an industry. I know there's some rumors out there, like there may be some sources out there that tell you, oh yeah, this player could have gone, this player could have gone. But if you're somebody that actually was in the know, you don't tell that stuff. You might tell your
Right.
mom, you might tell your wife, your girlfriend, you might tell Milo, your dog, but you don't go out and tell the public. You're not going to go to Lock On Astros and say, hey, by the way, we're about to trade Forrest Whitley and we're blah 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 for
So you're saying
Bryce
I
Harper.
can't say H. Town Wheelhouse's sources? Hey,
No.
I'm sources. Okay.
No, we don't need
Yeah.
fan sources.
Yeah.
Speaking of fan sources, we had a little hashtag war going on
We
for the
did.
slogan. So, what were the two finalists and who won?
The two finalists were H Town versus Everyone, which is actually pretty much the brainchild of Apollo Media, an upstart Houston media group that's doing crazy, crazy cool things here in Houston, and Unfinished Business. And Unfinished Business was actually suggested by Michelle Neat. She gave credit, and it was suggested by a guy that goes by Co-Strong or Zeus 319, and she gave credit to RB, Hey Randy, and who gave credit to
To
Michael
Michael
Brantley.
Brantley.
So
Give
here's
credit
the
to Michael
thing.
Brantley.
So here's the deal. The winner of the contest was H-Town versus everyone, behind, I think, the clout and the status of Apollo. But because Josh Strohs and I have spoken about it through DM, basically what we've decided was we're going to award it to the winner to unfinished business, because Josh Strohs actually liked that better for the 2021 season. Although more people, I think, voted for that because it was almost like a popularity type thing. I threw them in there personally because I just knew that a lot of people are familiar with that, right?
Yeah.
But the unfinished business, I'm going to have my guy from Strohs 411 put together a really cool graphic, wallpaper type thing for it. And we can throw it up there and people can use it as wallpaper if they want to. But that was really neat to get the fans interacting, people, going back and forth, and we'll try to do more stuff like that throughout the season. I think it gets people involved. And if you're listening to this, if you know somebody that's an Astros fan and you go, hey, have you heard of Locked On Astros? Send them the link from your phone, send them a text, say, go listen to this. And I promise you they'll be hooked.
Your non-money back because it's free. You don't have to pay. Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
so speaking of not getting your money back, there's a lot of closers gone at this point, and I want to point out that Brad Hand is gone. Who else? Liam Hendricks is now gone. Now today, Alex Colome has gone. Now he signed with the Twins a 1-year deal for, get this, $5 million for 2022. $5.5 million. So the fact that he went to the Twins for only $5 million, that leads me to think that the Astros are really done. I think the Astros could have offered that $5 million. I know you sent me a link according to Sports Track. Depending on what Carlos Correa sells for, the Astros have about $14 million before they exceed the luxury tax threshold. That's about where my math was anyway. I don't know if there's anybody out there. The only person I can think of, and I'm not so sure the Astros could go after him, is Trevor Rosenthal. So I know you've mentioned him several times on the podcast, but this is a guy who is, I'm not sure how old he is, but he was born, it doesn't say age on this one, but he's last year in 23 games. I know it was a shortened season. He had a good season. He had
Mm-hmm.
38 strikeouts and 23 innings pitched. That's pretty good. He had a 1.90 ERA in a season where the ERA was inflated. He had a good success out of the bullpen. Now, did he get a lot of saves? Yeah, he had 11 saves out of 12 opportunities. I believe he was with I know he got traded to, so he started off with the Royals, then he got traded to the Padres. So he got 4 of those saves with the Padres. He was 7 for 7 with the Royals. So this is a guy and he actually did better with the Padres than he did with the Royals. So this is a guy, do you think that the Astros could get for less than $5 million? But I think
Here's the
they're done.
thing. Yeah, I mean, so I was looking at his salary breakdown. The most he made was, I think, $7 million when he was in St. Louis, where he won. He saved 45 games in 2014, 48 games in 2015. Since then, he hasn't saved more than 14 games in the season, and he hasn't pitched more than 50 games in the season. Obviously, you wouldn't
He's
count
30.
2020. And I mean, he's not that old. He doesn't have. There's not a ton of tread off the tires. He's never thrown more than 75 innings in a single season. So Eric, here's the thing: if you can get this guy in, I mean, the last contract he made was like 2 million, right? I mean, actually, yeah, 7 million was the highest he made, and that was with the Nationals in 2019. We remember him being on the Nationals in 2019 for obvious reasons. if the Astros could offer him 5.5 million, then I think you could offer him 5.5 million for 1 year with a second year option, with some incentives. Maybe you could offer him 2 years, 8 million, with maybe a bonus on the front end, or I don't know. I'm not very good with like baseball numbers, GM stuff, but if you're gonna offer anybody anything, you can. I just don't think the Astros will, Eric,
No,
because I think they have enough right now. Now, I say that, but a lot of the guys they have outside of Presley in the back end of that bullpen, they're all pretty young. Um, so why wouldn't you bring in someone like Rosenthal? Because no one's offering him anything. I mean, there's no movement on the market. I was looking; it's been talked about, with the Dodgers. It's been talked about with the Yankees, but there's not been anything other than just scuttlebutt.
he's like that last guy you pick in kickball. And so it's not that he's bad. It just there's all these other guys that
Last guy picked, first guy out.
so
Okay, Eric just compared a 448 game closer, 48 save closer to the last kid kicked and picked in kickball. That is
well,
epic.
I'm
That
just
is
talking
awesome.
about the free
I
agent
know what you're talking about.
closers. So this year, so all the big names are out now. Even Joaquin Soria, I think he signed a 1 year deal with somebody. I forgot who it was, but
See, I
uh,
thought the Astros were going to go after him. I thought they were because of his price.
oh,
And
speaking of Back to the Future, Chris Archer went back to the race for a 1
he
year
did.
deal. That was pretty
Yes,
awesome. So
6.5 million. Man, I
so
hope
now we
that
can talk
I
about
hope that's
trading
worth
for
it.
him again. That's gonna be
No.
awesome. Another year of trading for Chris Archer. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's go,
Oh, I
Astros
know.
fans. Let's trade for Chris Archer. Watch him go 3-0 to start the season. Everybody's like, let's trade for Chris Archer. And wait, is this 2017 again? Is this 2016?
Let's trade Forrest Whitley for Chris Archer.
People probably be like, oh yeah, let's do it. Wait, wasn't he hurt all last year? Wasn't his arm speed down? Oh no, let's do it.
Maybe
No,
the Texans want to trade Deshaun Watson for him. I don't know.
no. Let's not talk about that. Or James Harden, maybe.
No, he's at the Nets already.
Oh,
Fat
yeah,
Harden,
I know.
he's at the Nets.
I know. And by the way, he's actually doing pretty good. So you can't say that. Whatever. And the Rockets are doing pretty good. I think they're playing tonight. I haven't checked what the score
They're
is,
dude,
but
they are killing it,
yeah,
man. We need to get some. Okay, we need to get that crossover show done because I'm tired of waiting for Deshaun Watson and his diva butt
yeah.
where he's going to go. I mean, dude, the Rockets are on fire. I mean, how exciting is it to maybe have some good basketball to watch until we start getting some spring training games at least.
For reals. All right, guys, you know that we are good and we cover everything about the Houston Astros. But what about the rest of sports? Now, the Locked On Podcast Network has you covered there as well with the Locked On Today podcast. It's hosted by the great Peter Bukowski, and it's all the sports news you need every morning in under 20 minutes. Subscribe to the Locked On Today podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and we will see you tomorrow with hopefully a special guest. And have a great day and go Astros. We'll see if they get a reliever. Probably not.